Hi, Jared Johnson here. Thanks for joining us today for the Monday webinar / the weekly watch list. This is what I'm looking to trade this week. Couple of administrative details to go over quickly. Today was supposed to be the first of subscription-only webinars. I've been doing them free for quite a long time, and they now require a subscription level. I'm doing one last free one for everybody because I didn't get enough time to send out the email with the details to give everyone time to register and pay for the webinar to attend. You can go to daytradersfx.com/join, and it will look like this. You can attend a single webinar every Monday for $4.99. This will include charts. It will include my entire outlook and several different trade ideas that I'll be looking at for the week. If you want to continue attending Monday webinars, you don't want to become a full member of the group, but you just want to attend the Monday webinars, you can get a monthly subscription to that for just $14.99, which basically means you get four webinars for the price of 3. So you can get all set up on all of that stuff at daytradersfx.com/join. And of course, if you would like to join the group and get all of the full benefits of the group and the trade ideas and the market analysis and the daily videos and the daily trade calls and the chat room and all of that stuff, you can just scroll down a little bit further and get some of these options here. Including we have some annual memberships that are pretty big discounts for all of that. So I just wanted to go over those details, and this will all be in effect next Monday. So looking forward to that. Should be a good opportunity to give you guys a little bit of extra analysis, more specific trade ideas, and so on. Okay, let's get down to what we're looking at in the market this week. We've got a couple of bank holidays and lack of news to kind of start things off, which is nice. We had a pretty heavy week last week of news, so I'm glad to see things calming down just a little bit. Going into Wednesday, we've got Yellen speaking. We've got a little bit of bank holiday again for Japan and China. And then going into Thursday, we have more central bank news, which should get things going pretty good. And then Friday, we've got some retail sales numbers. So it's just a nice, good, steady week of news. Now, we have seen some pretty crazy stuff to start this Monday off. You can see that the Dow has been down more than 350 points today. Oil is still floundering around that $30 mark. And this is an interesting area because this is something that we have talked about in very particular detail within the chat and trade group throughout the week, and including in the Monday webinars. One thing that we're very interested in is how things will behave and what will happen when the dollar, yen, and the S&P, when and if they beat these double or triple bottoms and potentially break through. So we talked about this. This is about the 116 area on dollar yen, which is just below right now. Doesn't mean it's a total break yet, but it is definitely trying to make an attempt at that area. And you can see that the S&P is making its way back towards that little triple bottom area as well. And I mentioned that this was the chart of the year to watch. If dollar yen makes a break for that and S&P makes a break for that, that's going to be a pretty clear direction for stocks to head for probably a semi-extended period of time. So I'm looking for that to kind of happen. I'm looking to see how the market reacts over the next 24 to 48 hours. The first part of this week is going to be very telling with this level right here. So very, very important. Again, this is the chart of the week, the chart of the year. It's got to really be watched, and that's going to be super important. Okay, so let's get down to some charts. Speaking of charts, let's run through a couple of pairs that I think have interest and have good potential. Overall, for the Australian dollar, we have pretty mixed. It's pretty mixed across the board, and so I'm looking for a couple of options here. If Aussie mixed strength area turns into, or if it holds weakness and pushes weakness more, I'm going to be looking for opportunities to sell the Aussie dollar. We have got some pretty wild price action in here, but we had a bit of a head and shoulders pattern on the 4-hour chart, and it's been trying to make some runs up here, but it's struggling. So if we see Aussie weakness, I will sell and I will be short below about the 70.50 area on Aussie dollar. You can see that's kind of this perfect little double top of the shoulders or of the neckline right there. We dipped around a little bit on that and we're making another run at it. So below 70.50 I'll be short Aussie dollar, and we're only about 50 pips away from that. However, if that does hold, and if this head and shoulders pattern holds, and we start to see Aussie strength emerging, that's important, it's not just bouncing around, but we need to see Aussie strength against at least a couple of other pairs emerging, then I'll be long above 70.50. So 70.50 is going to be a pretty important level for me. I'll be short below and looking for opportunities to have supporting Aussie strength to get long above. So that's what I'll be looking for. Nice little trend line, nice little area there. We've got a head and shoulders pattern that's still intact, but if this breaks, I think that's going to invalidate the head and shoulders pattern and probably take this pair a bit lower. So we've got an Aussie strength and an Aussie weakness idea there. Should be pretty interesting. You can kind of see that these little areas have been pretty tricky right here, about the 71, 25, 30 zones. We've got this really interesting little short-term channel that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. I also like Aussie yen. If Aussie weakness continues, and you can see we had a little bit of a short-term choppy head and shoulders pattern here. It ran up a bit, and then it's coming right back down. So if we see Aussie weakness continue, then I will be short about the 81.50 area, at or below 81.50 on Aussie yen. I'll be short, and I'll be targeting these lows. I think we've got about a 200 pip run that we should be able to grab out of that if we break this little trying to establish double bottom / possible neckline of a smaller head and shoulders pattern. So I'm going to be looking for that and looking for opportunities to short Aussie yen if weakness continues on the Aussie dollar. Okay. Canadian pairs are a little bit mixed as well. We see a lot of kind of up and downness here. Obviously, the yen has taken a strong hold on a lot of pairs. We see some mixed results on Australia and Euro and so on. So CAD is going to be an interesting one. A couple of the pairs that I like are a little bit random to what I typically trade, but New Zealand CAD looks pretty interesting. We've got this interesting little area on New Zealand CAD, and it seems to be holding in this uptrend, and it continues to bounce off these trend lines and really kind of just stay in this channel, and it's doing a really great job at staying there. We've got some kind of triple top activity that it might be wanting to head into and so on. So basically, I'm looking to see if this channel is going to hold, and I would like to buy. If we see, again, Canadian weakness, if we see Canadian weakness, I'm going to be buying New Zealand CAD above about this 92.50, 60 area. We've got some nice little support there, nice little resistance, and I think we could see a decent run higher on this pair. So we're just working our way up into the top of the channel into some of these missed pivots here. So I like being long above about 92.50, 60. If it doesn't hold the Canadian weakness, then I'm probably not going to trade this pair. For some of the Canadian flip side, we'll look at some other opportunities here. If we see again some Canadian strength, I'm going to be looking for I'm going to be looking for an opportunity to potentially buy CAD Swiss franc. Now, I don't have a very specific area that I want to get in just yet, but just know that it's somewhere around this zone right here. We've got possibly a couple of shoulders right here for an inverse head and shoulders pattern, and if that holds, we could see some nice opportunities to trade this CAD Swiss franc back on up. So I like that area. We've got some pretty big bottoming out patterns here, and I think this little inverse head and shoulders pattern could give us a nice opportunity to buy this and trade this up higher. So I like CAD Swiss franc if we see Canadian strength. So Canadian weakness, I'm going to be buying New Zealand CAD. Canadian strength, I'm going to be buying CAD Swiss franc. And also potentially, selling dollar CAD. So if we see continued Canadian strength, then I think dollar CAD could be a good one, because we've had this nice run up here. And it looks like we're trying to potentially create a bit of a head and shoulders pattern. We still have a 200 moving average that needs to get hit all the way down here. That's currently about 500 pips away. So there's quite a bit of profit potential here. So I'd like to continue selling this dollar CAD if we see supporting Canadian strength moving through all of that. So that looks very good. Okay. As far as euro pairs go, we have kind of some mixed results on the euro pairs, but for the most part, it's mixed to strong. So we see some decent euro strength and a little bit mixed against a few others. Here is a chart that I find pretty interesting. The euro dollar right here, this is a big long-term trend line that goes all the way back to highs and so on of like 2014. This big trend line has pretty obviously broken. And when we see these kinds of breaks where it's, it's testing and it's falling off and testing and falling off, and it's all the while consolidating, all the while not making new lows, it's pretty tough to believe that the euro dollar is not going to continue higher. Now, having said that, it will not be out of the question to see euro dollar come back and test 10900. That's 200 plus pips below where we currently are, but here is 10900 and even a little bit below. If euro dollar starts to get weak and gets back into this consolidation here, I'm going to still be looking to try to buy this thing on pullbacks if this is what we see happen, because it's not going to be uncommon to have a huge trend line like this break and then pull back and start retesting that trend line breakout area. And if that happens, we want to be looking to buy euro dollar between like 108.50 and 109.50 as that retracement happens, with stops and exit strategies below 10800. 10800 still seems to be a pretty strong area, but as long as euro dollar is above 10800, I think it's a bullish move. If it gets below 10800, then I will once again turn bearish euro dollar. But for the moment, it's a big trend line it's breaking with a lot of force, and I could very, very likely see some retracement and some testing of this area and then a continuation back up higher. So I like euro dollar. Excuse me for that, and basically I'm looking to buy any dips, any opportunities for dips that we have this week. So we want to keep an eye on the euro strength, and we want to make sure that it's holding and so on. So if strength is still there, then I also want to be buying some euro pound. I like this euro pound. It's coming up to a pretty significant resistance level. Look at this little low right here, all the way back in, that was to the pip back in 2012. And it ran up off that, and then it hit it again, and then it broke through right here, and we've tested it a couple of times right here. And that is about 77.55, 55.60 area. If this continues to consolidate, even if it pulls back a little bit, this might be a good spot to buy the break and take it up into 78, 50, 7900 area. I think that could be a decent opportunity for euro pound. So I like this setup. I don't necessarily have a major selling entry on this one yet. We've got trend lines and so on happening here, but I don't see a lot of pound strength that will merit a big opportunity to sell euro pound. Maybe on a short-term move, but I think overall we're going to continue to see some pound shakiness and some euro stability in the euro currency for the moment. Now, that could definitely change, but for the moment, I think we're going to be looking for opportunities to buy that break and trade that on higher. So, that's what I'm looking for. For euro weakness, I like Euro New Zealand. I like this 165.25 area. We start getting below that. That's pretty significant right there, and it could continue pushing quite a bit lower. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll watch that. But for euro, definitely for some euro weakness, I like that setup. And likewise for euro strength, this is also a very good support zone. We'll be looking for opportunities to trade some of these crazy levels and wicks and some of this wild price activity that we've seen here. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes on that and looking for those retests and looking for those continued movements there on Euro New Zealand. And of course, Euro Yen has had a nice little move. This is a great little trend line right here, channel, and the Euro Yen has just continued to hit this channel and react very nicely off the levels. So more yen strength, more euro, and some euro weakness, and I'm going to continue to be looking to short this one down into 127.50, 100 plus pips from that right where it is, and even potentially lower. So I like that Euro Yen a good little bit. Okay, quickly moving on to pound pairs. If the pound continues to stay weak, which we have pretty consistent pound weakness across the board, if pound stays weak, then I'm going to be looking for a couple of opportunities here. You can see lots of pound weakness. Number one, I want to be, there we go, I want to be short on pound dollar below about 143.50, 60 area. And I think we've got a good chance to trade this down into the lows. And I think ultimately I'm going to be looking for pound dollar to get into 140 and below 140. I think we've got a chance to break 140. So that should be very exciting. So I'm going to be looking for that selling opportunity if we continue to see pound weakness. Likewise, I like pound New Zealand, and I think there's a pretty good little opportunity here. We've got a nice little trend line. Everything's kind of ascending and descending here, and we've got this great little double bottom at about the 215 level. If we break that 215, I'm targeting 210. I think we've got a great opportunity for 210, and so I want to be short pound New Zealand below 2.1500 and trade that down into 210, about 500 pips, and I think there's a great chance of that. Likewise, if that level holds and we see some breakouts to the upside, we'll kind of explore that. But I'm not seeing enough pound strength right now to even think about too many buying ideas, at least at this point. So we're keeping an eye on that. So I like pound dollar and pound New Zealand. Okay, so quickly on to yen pairs. We've talked about quite a few yen pairs with the others as well. Basically, Aussie yen, we've talked about Aussie yen and kind of selling this little head and shoulders, mini head and shoulders pattern that might be in the works, the break of that. We've talked about a couple of euro yen and dollar yen, of course. So we'll see how dollar yen reacts below 11600. I'm definitely not getting into dollar yen yet, but below this 11600 is pretty significant, so we'll be looking for opportunities to short that as well. So that's kind of where we are for the moment. We've got a lot of setups. I'm going to include some charts with this video so you guys can remember all of this, and feel free to pause and mark your charts as you watch this. Good luck, and thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you guys on future Monday webinars.